Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. I'm Eduardo de la Concepcion.
And I'm Phoebe.
And today we're going to be looking at all the blue cards in Unstable. And we're also going to be looking at all the contraption cards in Agents of Sneak. Now, before we begin, we'd like to remind you guys that we have a Patreon page. If you like what we do, you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. For as little as $1 a month, you'd be helping us out immensely. We'd really appreciate it.
And we're going to evaluate these cards for the limit format, which includes draft and sealed. And it's a silver bullet set, which means it's not legal in any legal Magic tournaments, except for EDH, until the 15th of January.
That's right, of 2018. So we're going to be evaluating these cards, of course, to our three-tiered system. Golden Narwhal means it is a super powerful card, a bomb, unconditional removal. These are the cards that are going to be winning you the game. It pushes you heavily into this card or makes you want to play that color. Then we have Silver Platypus. These cards, if they're auto-include if you're already in that color, and otherwise a couple of these will definitely push you into that color. Then we move on to the Bronze Squirrel, which is, of course, the cards which are going to be filling out your mana curve. And then finally, the rest of the cards are either too situational or just plain bad. So we're going to put those cards aside. So now, without further ado, let's have a look at all the common cards.
The first common is Twiddlestick Charger. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank Twiddlestick Charger, tap or untap target creature. Essentially, it will say you can have an extra activate ability, or you can or target creature cannot block this turn. And I don't think that's good enough. Just put it aside.
Exactly. Next card is Dictation Quillograph, also artifact contraption. It states that whenever this thing gets cranked until the end of turn, target creature gains. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. So it's cool. It's going to give a loot effect whenever that creature deals damage. I think this is actually pretty decent. It's nice. Allows you to dig for those good cards that you want. Of course, that creature, you do need to have a creature, and of course that creature needs to get through and deal damage. But still, just puts it in that Bronze Squirrel category.
Yeah, and even not, you can target a big creature with it, and then it forces them to block it even more.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to really worry too much about you looting, I think.
Well, it's really important though.
It's good. I mean, it's an absolutely great effect. I just don't think people, I mean, if we just say draw a card, people were going to throw stuff in front of it. But if it says loot, then I think people are just going to accept it.
Next one is Top Secret Tunnel. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank Top Secret Tunnel, target creature can't be blocked this turn. So then we don't have to worry about being blocked or not. We just be unblockable. Yeah. Silver Platypus, getting through damage is really important, especially in a board stall, something like that. So yeah.
Very strong card. Absolutely love it. Then we move on to Blurry Beeble. For 1 blue, it is a 1/1 blurry creature, which means that if you cast it, and our opponent is not wearing glasses, then it is unblockable. So in essence, you want to be playing this against people who are not wearing glasses. That's what it comes down to. And then whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, we're going to draw a card and then discard a card. So we're going to loot. So it's pretty cool. So it's a 1/1 unblockable looter, but in a lot of the cases, it's just going to be a 1/1 that won't be able to attack properly, won't be able to do anything, and then it's going to do nothing. So I think high risk, high reward. You'd have to look at the people playing around you to see whether you want to draft this. I think it's highly unlikely to be efficient. I would say put it aside.
Yeah, and even if you have it, then just put it aside, and then you can put it in game 2, game 3, because then
you can sideboard it in.
Exactly, because then you know, like, oh, my opponent doesn't have glasses, and then you can play it.
Yeah,
and luckily I'm prepared.
And I will go dig up some sunglasses to take with me.
So the next one, Nova Elemental. 1 and a blue, it's a 2/1 elemental with flying, and it can only block creatures with flying. So Silver Platypus, it's a 2 mana 2/1 with flying. That's already really good. Silver Platypus, play it.
Yeah, these are the kind of cards that inconspicuously win you the game.
Yeah.
Then we move on to Wall of Fortune for 1 and a blue. So for 2 mana, we got a 0/4 wall with defenders. It can't attack. And it also states that we can tap and untap wall we control, and then any player has to re-roll a dice that player rolled. Okay, normally we don't play walls because they don't impact the game enough. Sure, they can block something, but they stop you from dying as fast, but it doesn't actually win you the game. It doesn't allow you to win the game. You don't like playing these, so we normally put these aside. But being able to make either our own die rolls or our opponent's die rolls, having to re-roll those, that could actually be quite interesting, and that pushes you just into the category where I would say, yeah, it's worth putting it in the deck, trying it out.
Yeah,
Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah, Bronze Squirrel. That's really interesting because there's a lot of cards that actually do a lot with die rolls, and some of them are really important. Yeah. So having a way to just manipulate it and being at the wall is just really nice.
Yeah, I like it that it also can affect you or your opponent, so you get that, some of that versatility in there.
Yeah. Defective Detective. 2 and a blue, it's a 2/1 human spy, and Defective Detective can't be blocked. And when he enters the battlefield, a person outside the game looks at target opponent's hand and chooses a card from it. That player reveals that card. So you have to ask someone else, hey, can you pick a card from the opponent's hand? And then you can look at the card. And it's unblockable with 2 power for 3 mana. I think that's pretty good. Silver Platypus.
Yeah, exactly. Even just a 2/1 unblockable for 3 is a great deal. I would always play this.
Yeah.
Next we go to Magic Word for 2 and a blue. It's an aura enchantment. And we'll get to enchant a creature. And then as Magic Word enters the battlefield, we're going to choose a word. And then we're going to whisper that word whenever we want, and then we get to tap enchanted creature. So in essence, what this means is basically it's removal. It's premium removal, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be enchanting our opponent's best thing, then we're going to say the word potato. And then every time it's the upkeep of our opponent, we're going to say potato, because you got to whisper it. Potato. And then they got to tap their creature, and we're just going to do that every single time, which means that they won't be able to attack or block with it.
Yeah. So you can keep it tapped in the upkeep and just...
And even if they found a way to untap it, they would still whisper potato again, and then they have to tap it again.
Exactly. So it's for 3 mana, blue unconditional removal, uncommon.
So strong. So strong.
So strong.
Yeah. Don't ever forget your Magic Word.
Yeah, that's important.
Was it Spud? Was it Fries? I don't remember. Then you're in trouble. All right.
Crafty Octopus. 2 and a blue. It's a 1/3 octopus rigger. It's a host creature. And when he enters battlefield, this creature assembles a contraption. It's 3 mana, 1/3. Not exciting, but it's already a Bronze Squirrel. But then when he enters the battlefield, you can get a contraption. For me, I always want to play this Silver Platypus.
Super, super strong. The body is not bad. The fact that it has that 1 power means it will be able to do stuff. And even if you have no augment cards, it's still a fine card to play.
Yeah, even if you don't have augment cards, you still get a construction, which just really great.
Great. Then we move on to Chipper Chopper for 3 and a blue. It's a 1/1 cyborg rigger with flying. Now 1/1 flyer for 1 already is not good, let alone for 3. So this is for 4. So let's have a look at the ability. When this guy enters the battlefield, we may sacrifice another artifact. If we do, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this thing and assemble a contraption. So this is very similar to the white one we already saw. But the difference between this one and the white one is that the white one, when it came in, even if it came in early, it still does stuff, and then later it does more stuff. This one, if it comes in early, well, how early can it be? Turn 4 played. If you don't have the artifact, it does 0. It does absolutely nothing. So it's just terrible. And potentially it has the ability to later in the game, either sacrifice something you don't need anymore artifact-wise and make it into a 3/3 flyer, or of course replace one of those contraptions. But I think it's just too risky. There's going to be too many times when you're just going to be stuck with a 1/1 for 4 mana, and that's just too bad.
Yeah, 1/1 flying for 4. Don't do that.
No.
Numbing Jellyfish. 3 and a blue. It's also a host creature jellyfish, and when he enters, it's a 2/3 jellyfish. And when he enters the battlefield, roll a 6-sided die. Target player puts the top X card from his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the result. So it's a milling jellyfish, which mills X, which is a die roll. Yeah, just don't play it.
You're playing limited. You're not trying to mill your opponent out.
Exactly, and it's a 2/3 for 4, which isn't that great either.
Get a better filler card.
Yeah, get the other jellyfish.
The squid.
The squid.
The octopus. The octopus.
The
cuttlefish.
The tentacly thing.
Exactly.
The tentacly thing.
Some form of cephalopod. All right, then we move on to Spell Suck for 2 and 2 blue. So for 4 mana, it's an instant. We're going to counter target spell and assemble a contraption. Now, Assembling contraption is good. We talked about that. But it's only good when it's really attached to something that you really also want to do, like having a 1/3 creature or something else. Or, yeah, just the white creature that becomes bigger. But anything, it has to be something you actually also want to do. You can't just play a card like this for just creating a contraption, because the contraptions are not good enough for just that. And the fact that it's countering a spell, you got to keep the 4 mana open. I think it's too risky and limited to be playing such an expensive counterspell, or even counterspell at all for that matter. So I would put it aside.
Yeah, it's just, you have to like keep it open, you have to wait. It's not that you can dictate on your own when you're gonna do this, and that's the point with, well, that's the thing that I have with this card.
Yeah.
Timeout. 4 and a blue, instant, roll a 6-sided die, put target non-land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of the library, where X is the result. So even if you roll a 1 on this card, instant speed, 5 mana, it will still take it two draw steps for them to see the card again. And normally we already like these kind of cards, and now it's only better.
Yeah, and instant speed.
Yeah, instant
It's
speed.
so strong, yeah.
Silver Platypus.
Always play this if you're in blue. Just great removal. And then we come to my favorite of the common blue cards, the always enigmatic Merman.
Reverse Merman.
It is a for 4 and a blue, so for 5 mana we get a 3/3 host human fish, and when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Okay. The body is fine. The ability is great. And this card, if you get 2 of these cards, you're just like, okay, I'm grabbing all the augment cards, because now we're just going to be, our mission is going to make sure we're going to trigger Merman as often as possible, and turning it into a half cat, half man, for example, or whatever we can get done to trigger this many times. Of course, preferably would be a half squirrel, half man, because then we're going to be triggering it every time a non-token creature enters the battlefield, which is, of course, awesome. I love it. Play it all the time. Stefan?
Yeah, it's a really good card.
Awesome. Okay, those are the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommons. We're going to start with the first of the uncommons, and that is Dispatch Dispensary. It's an artifact contraption, and whenever we crank this thing, we're going to be creating a 2/2 black rogue creature token with Menace. Okay, we know Menace is good, and 2/2s with Menace actually get a lot of stuff done. Amazingly enough, they are very difficult to block, because you might have 2 creatures, but to have, even if you do have 2/2s, then they're still going to choose which one of them they're going to kill. So it's probably one of those that you don't want to lose. It always makes it a pickle, and it's just annoying. And this one, you get 1 every 3 turns, which is pretty sweet. So I would always try and put this in my deck, my contraption deck. Silver Platypus.
Yeah, and if you have like 2 of them, it's just so annoying, because you have to have 4 creatures to block them. So yeah, Menace is so good.
So strong, yeah.
Yeah. Accessories to Murder. It's a contraption, and when you crank accessories to Murder, target creature plus X plus 0 until the end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. So let's say you have like 2-3 creatures, then it's still a lot. +2, +3 every 3 turns is great.
Yeah.
So Silver Platypus.
Absolutely. Then we move on to Insufferable Siphon. Once again, contraption. And then whenever we crank this thing, target player discards a card. Now you may think, oh my god, it's going to be so great. You know, as good as drawing a card is, that's how bad discarding card must be. But the problem with this is that later on in the game, our opponents can empty their hands, and then the problem is then it will do absolutely nothing. And once again, it's not random discarding, so people can always discard the thing that they need the least. And we still needed to put this in our deck. We still need to draft it, and I just don't think it's going to be doing enough. So we're going to put that one aside.
More or less, a blue instant, add or subtract 1 from a number or number word on target spell or permanent until end of turn. So you can change the numbers on cards, or spell exactly. Yeah. So it's just a really versatile with a lot of the die rolling kind of things. Like if you it triggers on something, and you can change that. But is it good enough? I don't think so, because
by itself doesn't do anything.
Exactly, and I don't think you can actually change die rolls with this.
No, because it's only permanent or spell, and this permanent or spell is not a die.
Yeah, well, it's also like from a number, so I'm not sure. So that's why.
No, but it does. A die is not a permanent. You can only change a spell.
Yeah.
Or permanent.
But it's like from a number or number word on target spell permanent.
But so still not a dice.
No, but dice is a number. That's why.
Yes, but it's a number word on target
from
spell
a number
or permanent.
Or number word. Or number word.
But it has to be on target spell or permanent. Those are the only two places where you can change something.
No, it's from a number or number word on target spell or permanent.
Yeah.
So it's like or number word on target spell permanent.
Yeah. So what can you target?
So you can target a number which a die roll is.
No, you can only target a number on target spell or permanent. Those are the only places you can target.
You are missing half of the sentence.
No, you're saying you can change two things. You can change a number or a number word, right? Those are two things you can change.
Yeah.
But you can only change those on two other things.
So yeah, okay. So it's like
this is what you change, and this is where you can change it. So you can change the number or a number word, and you can change it on a spell or on a permanent.
Okay, so
which none of those four things are a dice.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know.
Peace.
If it was a dice, I think
that would be way better.
A lot better.
That would be way better.
That's the whole point. Like we were talking about before. I don't think you can target a dice. So yeah. That's why I just put it aside. Yeah. If it was targeting dice, then it actually gets a lot better.
True. Socketed Sprocketeer is next for a blue. We get a 1/1 artifact creature, Cyborg Knight. This guy is interesting because we can tap it to uninstall the results from this thing and then roll a d6 and then put that die roll on this card as, let's say, an installed number. What we can also do is uninstall the number that's on there currently. So if we've rolled a 3 before, we tapped it, we rolled a 3, we put a 3 on there. We can also uninstall that die roll and exchange that die roll or give that die roll to another die roll that we've rolled. So basically, if we, at another point in time, we roll a die and we roll a 1, we might say, hey, you know what, actually I'd rather have that 3 that's on this thing. And what we can also do is uninstall a 6 number from this guy to draw a card. So essentially how this works, we're going to put it down on a turn, then every turn we're going to be tapping it and rolling a dice, and we're going to see how high we can get. And at any other time when we're going to roll a die with anything else, we can say, hey, you know what, actually the one that's already on Sprocketeer, that one's better. I'm just going to take that one instead. And if we do happen to roll a 6 at some point in time, we can always remove that one right away and then draw a card, which is not too bad. Still, the question is, how often are you going to get that 6? I think very unlikely because it's 1 in 6 chance. But the fact that if you do have a few cards that do rolls, then this thing is a nice little backup that allows you to get some more reliability out of those die rolls. So Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah, it's a shame that you can only target your die rolls, so you cannot change other people's die rolls.
Otherwise, saving the bad ones on there would be just as good.
Yeah. But yeah, with the saving bad ones, there's still 2 cards that do 2 die roll and do the difference. So that's actually something to think about.
Yeah, but that doesn't make this card any better.
That just makes
that other card better.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Kindly Cognition. 1 on a blue, it's a 1/3 cyborg artificer, and spells cast refers to artifacts or contraptions in the rules text, cost 1 less to cast. And there are a lot of them.
Yeah, true.
So Bronze Squirrel, it's a 1/3 for 2, which is already good, and it has upside.
Yeah, definitely. So 1/3 for 2 is not bad.
Yeah.
It's fine filler. If you play blue and white with this, you're going to be able to get a lot of stuff for cheap.
Exactly, a lot.
Then we move on to Sneak Dispatcher for 1 and a blue. It's a 2/1 human spy. So, I mean, I don't like my 2/1s for 2, but they do fit the curve. So you can always play them. And it has the ability that for 2 and a blue, and tapping it, we're going to look at the top card of target player's library. So it could be yours or your opponent's. And then if it has a Agent of Sneak watermark, which is the little umbrella with the key, which you can also see in this picture, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. Otherwise, put it on the top or bottom of owner's library. So that's cool. So we're going to do it to ourselves. If we have a lot of these, then we can try and we can draw extra cards. We can also think, hey, our opponent also has a couple of those. Maybe I'll just try it to our opponent, and we look at what they have. Maybe we take it, and if they don't, then you know what? We're going to be able to, if it's a good card, we're going to put it at the bottom of their library, so we can still kind of put them in a difficult situation anyway. I think if you're in blue, this card is always going to be value. Silver Platypus.
It's always going to be value. I mean, it's on curve, and then it can draw cards, it can scry for you, it can scry to your opponent, and you can draw your cards or their cards. It's just so cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Just always play this.
Super good.
Crowstorm. 2 and a blue, it's a sorcery, create a 1/2 blue bird creature token with flying named Stormcrow, and it has Storm. And Storm is for when you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. So it will be a 2 mana 1/2 flyer, not that great. You play something else, something cheap, so you have 2 spells, probably not, most likely not more than that. So you have 2 1/2s.
For 3 mana.
Yeah, for 3 mana, that's not that bad. Bone Scroll.
Yeah, it's
It's not that exciting. It's not that exciting, but
It's
it's
like-
still power, toughness, enough air. I think that's good enough to put it in Bone
Yeah,
Scroll.
exactly. Then we have Spy Eye for 2 and 2 blue. So for 4 mana, we get a 1/3 with flying. Okay, that's, okay, 1/3 flying. It's good. It's got evasion. Then whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card from that player's library. What? What? That is insanity. That is if you thought Sneak Dispatcher was good, the Silver Platypus is Spy Eye is definitely a Silver Platypus. Yeah,
It's a Silver
it is
Platypus.
definitely a Silver Platypus. It's even better. Of course, the Sneak Dispatcher's 2 mana. This one's 4 mana, but it's still being able to hit our opponents. It's got evasion, so there's a good chance we will be able to hit them. Even if they have a 1/1 flyer, they won't be able to really stop this thing for very long because it's got a pretty decent butt. It can stop 2/2s. I mean, this thing does everything you want in a 4 mana costed card, I think, actually. And I think I would always play it. I've got a couple of these, and that severely pushes me into blue.
Exactly, and it's just really cool what this mechanic does because you're drawing other people's cards from their deck, and that's just really cool. Like, oh, it's a really nice deck you're having, so I'll play with it.
Yeah. Sweet.
Suspicious Nanny. It's 4 and a blue. It's a 3/4 human spy rigger, and whenever he deals combat damage to a player, it resembles target conception that player controls. So that means that you gain control of it and move it to one of your sprockets. 5 mana 3/4. It's a pretty okay body, and when he deals combat damage, you steal a contraption from them. That is so cool. That is so strong.
Yeah.
Silver Platypus, always gonna play this.
Yeah, you don't even feel bad playing this without stealing a contraption. If your opponent's not playing any contraptions, it could happen. Then you still have a 3/4 for 5, which is gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Nothing to feel bad about.
Exactly.
Next, we have another augment card, and that is Half Shark Half. It's a creature fish, which gives +3/+3 to the host creature, and also changes the triggered ability to at the beginning of your upkeep. Something happens. The augment cost is 5 and a blue, so 6 is pretty steep. It's pretty expensive. The +3/+3 for 6, I don't think that's good enough. The fact that it's at the beginning of your upkeep, changing that triggered ability means it's extremely reliable. It changes that half shark, half man, for example, into at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card, which is actually really strong.
Yeah.
So we're going to put this as Bronze Squirrel. We can play it, but remember, we still need to have that host creature. We still need to have 6 mana. So there's a lot of situations where this thing will be a dead card, and it's very risky. If it does pay off, it's going to pay off in a big way, though.
Yeah, it's reliable, and that's important. You don't have to do anything for it.
Yeah. And on the other hand, it's also not reliable because you need to have the host card. So
the triggered ability is reliable.
yeah,
So
absolutely. It's just beautiful, and look how awesome. That's some kind of Mako shark or something. It's great. It looks awesome.
So the last uncommon is 5 in discount. It's a 4 mana, 4 and 6 blue.
4 and 2 blue for 6 mana.
I can do this. Sorcery. Put target non-land permanent into your hand. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color next time you cast that card. As we said before, stealing other people's cards, playing with them. This for 6 mana, you remove something from the game because they cannot get access to it. It's not in the graveyard, it's not in their hand, so it's removed and it's in your hand, so they cannot interact with it. And if you would like, you can play it. So that's so good. It's a golden narwhal because it's unconditional removal, and then it's even better because you can play it.
Yeah, it's so incredibly strong.
Yeah.
How powerful is the effect that you take something away from them and you gain that? I mean, it doesn't do it in one go and it costs you a lot of money, but that simple exchange, that swing of the permanent, is not to be underestimated.
Yeah, even if it doesn't have the second clause, it's still a golden narwhal because it's still exiling a creature.
Yeah, Yeah, very, very strong. However, it says dog napping is an ugly word. I would characterize this as the unilateral redistribution of pets. I think this is a very disturbing line to have on a card. As a pet owner, I love my pets, and I don't think it's very nice to have people joking about taking pets away from people. I mean, it's okay to have cards killing each other and murder being a card. That's all fine, but don't mess with our pets. That is the last of the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares.
The first rare is Hypnotic Swirly Disc. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank Hypnotic Swirly Disc, target player puts the X top cards of his or her library into a graveyard, where X is the number of creatures you control. So this will probably mill more than the last mill card, but still, it's milling, and just put aside.
Yeah, you don't want to be milling your opponent in
No.
limited. Then we move on to Deadly Poison Sampler. It's also a contraption. It states whenever we're going to crank this thing until the end of turn, target creature gains. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy target creature that player controls. What? Again, that's the face that I make when it's a really good card. It is a silver platypus, absolutely. It makes your opponent have to block this creature that you've chosen, because otherwise they will lose the best thing they've got. So you put this, you make sure that the triggered ability goes on the fattest thing you got, and just send it that way, and you will kill something, guaranteed. And that's just extremely powerful.
Exactly. They will jump with it, or you can destroy anything with it. So it's so great. Silver Platypus. Play it. Just play it.
Yeah.
Inside. X and 2 blue sorcery, assemble X contraptions. This is really cool. It's so cheap. It's a mana sink, and contraptions, if you've seen them before, there are some really good contraptions. So to put X contraption on the table is such a strong ability. Golden Narwhal.
Yeah, I would definitely always play this card.
Yeah.
It pushes me into blue, and also pushes you into contraptions.
I mean, this is something that you're thinking about, like, oh, I'm gonna play this, and then getting a lot of contraptions, or even like when you're drafting, you're not gonna pass this up. You're actually gonna draft this really fast, and then you're gonna draft a lot of contraptions really fast.
Yeah, super sweet. Then we move on to Very Cryptic Command for 1 and 3 blue. So for 4 mana, it's an instant. We're gonna choose 2 things. Either we're gonna untap 2 target permanents, or we're gonna tap each permanent target player controls with exactly 1 word in his name. Okay. Then we can also choose to discard all cards in our hand, then draw them any cards. So we're going to wheel ourselves. And the last option is to return target instant sorcery card from our graveyard to our hand. Now these are all very good cards. Right away we're going to say Silver Platypus, because just already the fact that we're able to let's say wheel, so discard all our cards and draw that many cards, and also return an instant sorcery from our graveyard to our hand. That is a very strong effect. That's going to be giving us a lot of value with that digging, with that getting back of something that's already really good. And of course, there's definitely also situations where the other 2 modes are going to be good. So it's good and potentially even better situations.
Exactly. So what more do you want?
Silver Platypus.
Next one, Clocknapper. 3 and 2 blue, human spy, a 2/2. When she enters battlefield, you can choose beginning phase, pre-combat main phase, combat phase, post-combat main phase, or ending phase. And then you can steal that phase from target player during his or her next turn. And to be fair, I think the best thing to do is the beginning phase.
Oh, it's so good.
Because it's untap, upkeep, which means you can crank all your contraptions again, and then the draw step, which means they don't untap their stuff, they don't get a cranking, and they don't get a draw.
How is this card legal? How is this for 5 mana?
It's not legal.
Oh
it's
my
not
God,
legal.
It is so incredibly unfair.
Yeah, and it's so great.
Oh my God.
So great.
This is maybe the most busted card, I think, in the set. It is just ridiculous. This has got Golden Narwhal written all over.
Golden Narwhal. And
oh my God.
something is not as great, but still really cool if you steal that combat phase.
That's also fun. Yeah.
So it's their turn, but you're attacking them.
Yeah. I mean, if we could figure out a way to do this every single turn, then we're really going to be...
Some flickering.
Yes. Oh, so nice.
With the horse.
Oh, that horse is amazing together with this. All right, we move on to the next one. Graveyard Busybody for 4 and 2 blue. It is an XX human spy. It states that all graveyards are also your graveyards. It also has the power and toughness equal to the number of cards with flavor text in your graveyard. So that's cool. Usually these cards look at the number of creatures in your graveyard. This one just looks at flavor text. There are a lot of cards with flavor text, so I think it's gonna be fine. But again, it doesn't have trample, doesn't have evasion, so it's not going to be winning the game per se. I do think it'll be big. Bronze Squirrel. If you do need something fat at the end of your mana curve, this thing will be fat at the end of your mana curve. Bronze. It's just not higher than Bronze Squirrel.
No, because it's still, you need to have a lot of creatures in your graveyard.
No, not creatures. Things with flavor text, yeah.
And sometimes in limited games, you have an empty graveyard.
That happens, yeah.
Or only a couple things in your graveyard. Then you play a 6 mana 2/2 3/3.
Could happen, yeah.
So that's why it's still like
low on the squirrel.
Yeah.
Level, yeah. Agreed.
It's still squirrel, but because it can do a lot of things, but most of the time probably not do much.
No.
So yeah, I'm Bronze Squirrel.
Okay.
The last rare is Animate Library. For 4 and 2 blue, it's enchantment aura and enchants your library. Enchant Library is an artifact creature on the battlefield with power and toughness, each equal to the number of cards in it. It's still a library, and if Enchant Library would leave the battlefield, exile in Animate Library instead. So luckily, people cannot remove your library.
Yeah, by killing it. Yeah.
Exactly. But for 6 mana, it will be like a 20/20?
Reliably large.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can say that at the point where we're able to play this, we will be able to one-hit kill our opponents with this thing.
Yeah, so it's a golden narwhal.
Yeah, it's just so strong. It's just so strong. It's as strong as this card is. That's as weak as the previous card is with respect to how big it can be.
Yeah.
Animate Library.
I mean,
awesome card.
Who doesn't want to kill their opponent with their library?
Yeah.
Just like throw it against the face.
Yeah, and of course it's important to remember that we can always, even if it's on the battlefield and it is a creature, it's still also a library, so you can still draw from it. So it's just only upside.
Yeah, only
awesome.
upside.
Those are the rares. Let's have a look at the mythic. Our first and only mythic card is Fairy Airy. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank this thing, we're going to create 2 1/1 blue fairy spy creature tokens with flying and haste. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then we're going to exile them at the beginning of the end step. So in essence, it's not going to be growing. We're not going to be getting an army that keeps growing. But every turn, we do have a chance to draw 2 cards and deal 2 damage. That's actually pretty decent. Once again, it doesn't win you the game, but the drawing of the cards, if they can't block it, so there's still, it's not guaranteed drawing of cards, but if, so sometimes you'll draw 0, sometimes you'll draw 2, and in between that's 1 card, so I still think Silver Platypus.
Yeah, it's still good, because if you're other flyers, then they have to choose, do I want to block the bigger flyer, I want to give them cards, so it's really interesting, and we've seen some 1 toughness flyers anyway, so yeah. That makes it all more difficult, which makes this card all the more better.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Silver Platypus. Yeah, definitely. Those are the mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion.
Blue is so great. It has a lot of things. We have removal. We have unconditional removal in blue. What's happening? And it has drawing and looting, unblockable. You can throw your library against the opponent. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's also very, very strong color. Very excited to play this. If we'd have to give it a score relative to the other colors, I would say, let's say if Skrillex would be really good, and Katy Perry would be, let's say, really bad. Justin Bieber coming in around average. Like, what kind of score would we give it?
Michael Bublé, yeah, solid Michael Bublé.
I think that's, I can get behind that. Also, now I'd like to remind you guys to join us on a Patreon. If you become a Patreon, you get access to exclusive content not available elsewhere. And of course, you get the added bonus of helping us out and making more videos, which we really appreciate. You can head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdex. Also, join us on the social medias. You can join us on Facebook, Twitter, or on Instagram now @BudgetMTGDex, where we share some behind the scenes stuff, and of course we talk about these very cards, how we can use them, and maybe some more specific information behind them. We'll be sharing all of that on our social media channel, so head on over there too. And of course, There's going to be more videos on this set. The next video is going to be the black one. So subscribe to us here for the most powerful decks and advice everyone can afford. And if you do, don't forget that little bell button, because then you'll get notified when the next one is coming out. Well, I guess that's it. I'm Eduardo de la Concepcion.
I'm Phoebe.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.